Blue and red lights flash. The black woman sighs, pulling her modest sedan to the roadside with practiced precision. Officer Mark Brennan approaches, smirking. "License and registration, sweetheart, and let's drop the attitude this time." The woman remains expressionless as he continues. "You people always think the rules don't apply." He leans in closer. "I've had my eye on you, driving through my town like you own it." She hands over her documents silently. His smug expression freezes, then crumbles as he reads the ID. "Is there a problem, Officer Brennan?" she asks calmly. "You seem to recognize my name. You should." "I'm Special Agent Tessa Daniels, and I've had my eye on you too." Officer Brennan doesn't realize he's just stepped into his own investigation. 6 months earlier. Special Agent Tessa Daniels stands at the window of her temporary apartment, observing the quiet streets of Oak Ridge. The mid-sized suburban town appears peaceful, but the file in her hands tells a different story. Traffic stops of minorities at 4 times the rate of white drivers, dozens of complaints filed, 0 disciplinary actions taken. Daniels unpacks methodically, arranging her modest wardrobe alongside hidden recording equipment. Her assignment? Lead a covert FBI investigation into potential civil rights violations within the Oak Ridge Police Department, focusing on a pattern centered around Officer Mark Brennan and several colleagues. She reviews her cover identity once more. Tessa Williams, marketing consultant recently relocated from Chicago. The rental agreement, bank accounts, social media profiles, all meticulously crafted by the Bureau's best analysts. Even her sedan is carefully chosen. Reliable, unremarkable, the kind of vehicle that blends into suburban traffic. Establish routines first, she reminds herself, marking a map with routes that will eventually intersect with Brennan's patrol areas. Become part of the landscape. Across town, Officer Mark Brennan leans against the break room counter, coffee mug gripped tightly in his hand. 15 years on the force has hardened his perspective. "Another one moved in over on Maple," he tells the officers gathered around the table. "Third one this month. Keep telling the chief. Outsiders moving in, changing the character of Oak Ridge." His eyes narrow. "Not what this town used to be." Several officers nod in agreement. Others study their coffee cups, avoiding engagement. Officer Rivera, a rookie just 6 months on the job, shifts uncomfortably, but remains silent. The next morning, Daniels begins establishing her presence. She buys groceries at the local market, introduces herself at the neighborhood coffee shop, takes daily walks at predictable times. On her 3rd day, she notices Brennan's cruiser following her sedan for several blocks before turning away. She makes no reaction visible to outside observers, but once home, she documents the incident in precise detail on her secure FBI communications. "Subject demonstrating preliminary interest," she reports. "No direct contact yet." Her field supervisor's response comes quickly. "Patience. We need a clear pattern of behavior, not isolated incidents. The department has been protecting him for years." Daniels acknowledges the instruction, then returns to her window, watching as Brennan's cruiser passes by again, slower this time, deliberate. Little does Brennan know, every time he follows her, he's adding evidence to his own case file. 2 weeks into her assignment, Daniels enters Oak Ridge's busiest coffee shop during the mid-morning rush. She places her order, black coffee, no sugar, and waits patiently at the counter. The door chimes and Officer Brennan enters with his partner, Officer Kelly. Their conversation halts when Brennan spots Daniels. His eyes narrow, tracking her movements as the barista hands over her change. Brennan maneuvers through the crowded shop, positioning himself directly behind her. When Daniels turns, he accidentally bumps into her shoulder, causing coins to scatter across the floor. "Watch yourself," Brennan says, not bothering to hide his smirk. He makes no move to help collect the fallen change. Officer Kelly's face flushes with embarrassment. "Sorry about that, ma'am," he offers quietly. Daniels maintains her cover flawlessly, kneeling to retrieve her coins without complaint or confrontation. Their eyes meet briefly as she rises. Brennan's gaze holds a challenge, an assessment, a silent assertion of dominance. She deliberately selects a table near the officers, opening her laptop as if completely unbothered by the encounter. The recording app on her phone activates with a discreet tap under the table. "Can you believe these people?" Brennan speaks loudly to Kelly, glancing toward Daniels. "Move into a nice town and immediately act entitled. No respect for authority whatsoever." Kelly nods uncomfortably, keeping his voice low in response. Daniels appears absorbed in her work, typing steadily while capturing every word. 20 minutes pass before the officers prepare to leave. Brennan takes a deliberate path past her table, his arm brushing against her coffee cup, sending dark liquid spreading across her papers. "Oops," he says without stopping or looking back. Kelly pauses briefly. "Sorry about that," he mumbles before hurrying after his partner. The coffee shop falls quiet as the door closes behind them. Several patrons glance sympathetically toward Daniels, but no one speaks. She calmly blots the spill with napkins, maintaining her composure until the officer's cruiser pulls away from the curb. That evening, Daniels updates her case notes, her voice steady as she dictates, "Subject displaying escalating antagonistic behavior toward minorities in non-official settings, suggesting bias extends beyond professional conduct. Witness present, Officer Kelly showed discomfort but did not intervene." She uploads the audio recording, then prepares for her evening drive, the same route she's taken for 14 days straight. Right on schedule, Brennan's patrol car appears in her rearview mirror at the intersection of Main and Oak. This time, he follows for 8 blocks before turning away. Daniels makes no visible reaction, but mentally calculates. Third documented tale in 5 days. The game of cat and mouse has begun, but the cat doesn't realize he's being studied. 1 month into the investigation, rain falls steadily over Oak Ridge. Daniels checks her vehicle before departing. Taillights functioning, turn signals operational, license plate properly displayed. She's documented 7 instances of being followed by Brennan, but today feels different as she navigates the slick streets at precisely 2 miles under the posted limit. The flash of red and blue lights in her mirror comes almost as a relief. Finally, direct contact. She pulls over with textbook precision, positioning her sedan perfectly on the shoulder. Through her side mirror, she watches Brennan's deliberate approach, noting his hand resting conspicuously on his holster, a power display unnecessary for a routine traffic stop. Rain streams down his face as he reaches her window. License and registration. No greeting, no explanation for the stop. Daniels complies silently, movements measured and non-threatening. Her dashboard camera activates with a hidden switch beneath the steering column. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" His tone suggests she should. "No, officer, I don't," she responds calmly. "Taillights out." The lie comes easily, delivered with practiced authority. "Step out of the vehicle, please." Daniels complies, rain immediately soaking through her light jacket. Brennan makes no effort to conduct the stop under the shelter of her car's trunk or his cruiser's overhang. Instead, he leaves her standing in the downpour while he returns to his vehicle with her documents. The rain intensifies during the 8 minutes and 42 seconds he makes her wait. Other vehicles pass slowly, drivers watching the scene with curious glances. Daniels maintains her position, water dripping from her hair, collecting evidence with every passing second. Brennan finally emerges, approaching with unhurried steps. "I'm letting you off with a warning this time." He extends her documents, then deliberately loosens his grip just as she reaches for them. The papers flutter to the ground, landing in a roadside puddle. "Oops, you should be more careful with important papers." His smile doesn't reach his eyes. Daniels kneels in the rain, retrieving her wet license and registration without comment. Brennan watches, clearly disappointed by her lack of reaction. "New to town, aren't you?" he asks, studying her face. "Word of advice, we have standards here in Oak Ridge. Some folks have trouble adjusting." The threat in his tone requires no translation. He hands her a yellow warning slip for the non-existent violation. As Daniels turns to return to her vehicle, he adds, "I've got a good memory for faces. Drive safely now." She waits until his cruiser disappears around the corner before entering her car. Water drips from her clothes onto the upholstery as she activates her dashboard camera's microphone. October 15th, 3:47 p.m. Officer Mark Brennan, badge number 4872, conducted traffic stop claiming defective taillight. No equipment violation exists. Officer deliberately dropped identification in roadside water. Verbal intimidation suggesting future targeting. Her voice remains professional, detached, as water continues to stream from her hair. She examines the warning notice. Defective equipment, checked in bold pen strokes. Beneath the official form, a handwritten note. "Welcome to Oak Ridge." Officer Brennan just created the first piece of concrete evidence against himself and has no idea who's collecting it. The evening light fades as Daniels towels her hair dry, her wet clothes replaced with comfortable sweats. Her apartment remains sparsely furnished, nothing to suggest permanence, nothing personal except a single framed photo of her academy graduation class. She verifies the security of her windows and doors before activating the secure communication system disguised as an ordinary laptop. Deputy Director Morgan appears on screen, silver hair contrasting with his dark suit. "Progress report?" "He's made direct contact," Daniels replies, uploading the day's footage. "Manufactured a violation, standard intimidation tactics. The warning citation will serve as documented evidence of false official actions." Morgan reviews the footage silently, his expression hardening as Brennan drops the documents in the puddle. "He's escalating faster than expected. Are you maintaining your cover effectively?" "Yes, sir. He sees exactly what he wants to see. Just another black woman he can intimidate with impunity." Daniels keeps her voice professional, though the day's humiliation still clings to her like the earlier rain. "The pattern matches the complaints we've reviewed." "Precisely," Morgan agrees. "Brennan's approach to your traffic stop mirrors complaints from at least 12 other minority residents over the past 3 years, all dismissed by the department as misunderstandings or lack of evidence." Daniels scrolls through the case files. Similar stories, similar tactics, similar dismissals. The department protected him each time. "Which is why this operation is critical," Morgan reminds her. "We need to establish a clear pattern of constitutional violations. One incident isn't enough to overcome the department's defensive posture." "I understand, sir. He'll do it again." Daniels studies Brennan's image on her screen. 15 years on the force, commendations for proactive policing, 3 prior complaints marked unfounded in bold red letters. He's becoming fixated. It's personal for him now. Me. After signing off, Daniels reviews her notes meticulously, connecting incidents, identifying the emerging pattern. A silent vow forms as she works, not just for the case, not just for her assignment, but for every person who filed those ignored complaints, who stood in the rain while Brennan demonstrated his power. Across town, Brennan sits at his kitchen table, laptop open, frustration evident in his rigid posture. He scrolls through database records, searching for anything on Tessa Williams, driver's license, vehicle registration, credit history. "Nothing unusual," he mutters, reaching for his phone. The call connects after 2 rings. "Hey, Mike, need a favor from records. Run a background on a Tessa Williams, just moved to Oak Ridge. Need everything you've got." The voice on the other end sounds hesitant. "Official request?" "Just keeping an eye on things," Brennan replies. "Between us." Minutes later, his phone buzzes with a text. "Just moved here from Chicago. Marketing consultant, clean record. Why? She causing problems?" "Just keeping an eye on things," Brennan replies. Something about her doesn't sit right. He stares at her driver's license photo, enlarged on his screen. "What are you really doing here?" he asks the silent image. Meanwhile, Daniels anticipates this exact background check, ensuring her cover remains solid under scrutiny. She meticulously plans her movements for the coming days, mapping routes that will place her in Brennan's path at predictable intervals. "Let him think he's the hunter," she tells Morgan during their next secure call. "We just need to give him enough rope." The hunter has no idea he's actually the prey, and the trap is nearly set. 2 weeks pass with Daniels documenting 3 more instances of being followed by Brennan while driving through town. The pattern becomes predictable, his cruiser appearing in her mirror at specific intersections, maintaining distance but remaining visible, a constant reminder of surveillance. Today, she pushes the investigation forward, selecting the town's primary grocery store during Brennan's off-duty hours. The automatic doors slide open as she enters, immediately noticing his unmistakable frame in the produce section. Not a coincidence. His eyes find hers too quickly, his posture too alert for a casual shopping trip. Daniels navigates the aisles methodically, selecting items from her list with practiced normalcy. Her path deliberately takes her to the international foods section, where she examines packages of Thai curry paste with apparent interest. Brennan appears at the end of the aisle, now in jeans and a dark Henley rather than his uniform. The badge is missing, but his authority remains intact in his stance, the set of his shoulders, the deliberate way he invades her space. "Fancy tastes," he comments, examining her basket. "Don't see many people around here buying that kind of stuff." Daniels offers a neutral smile. "I enjoy cooking." "Right." Brennan reaches past her to grab a box of taco shells, unnecessarily brushing against her arm. "You know, I make it my business to know everyone in Oak Ridge. Keeps the town safe." "Is that right?" Daniels maintains her cover, voice revealing nothing. "You've been here, what, 6 weeks now?" His eyes narrow slightly. "Driving around a lot, meeting with people. What kind of marketing did you say you do?" The accusation lies just beneath the surface of his question. Daniels provides a vague but convincing explanation of digital marketing strategies, brand development, client consultations. Each word calculated to sound legitimate while revealing nothing of consequence. "Right. Well, small towns talk, just so you know." His tone suggests both warning and threat. Daniels continues shopping as Brennan moves away, but through the store's security mirrors, she tracks his path to the manager's office. Their conversation takes place behind glass walls, Brennan gesturing in her direction, the manager's uncomfortable nod, the exchange of what appears to be contact information. At checkout, the cashier's formerly friendly demeanor has cooled noticeably. No small talk, no smile, just efficient scanning and a terse, "Have a nice day." Outside, Daniels discovers her car boxed in. Brennan's personal vehicle, a black SUV, parked deliberately close to her driver's side door. The narrow gap makes it physically impossible to enter. After a moment's consideration, she calmly walks around to the passenger side, climbs across the center console, and starts the engine. As she maneuvers carefully out of the tight space, she glances back at the store entrance. Brennan stands watching, arms crossed, satisfaction evident in his posture. Their eyes meet briefly before Daniels drives away, her expression revealing nothing. That evening, she adds the grocery store incident to her growing file. Subject escalating to off-duty harassment, attempting to isolate target from community resources through intimidation of local business owners. The line between professional investigation and personal harassment is beginning to blur for both hunter and hunted. 1 week later, Daniels sits at a corner table in Oak Ridge Bistro, the town's most popular lunch spot. She deliberately positions herself with a clear view of both entrances while appearing absorbed in her laptop. The restaurant buzzes with midday conversations, business meetings, friendly catch-ups, the rhythm of small-town life continuing around her. The atmosphere shifts subtly when Brennan enters with 3 fellow officers. Conversations pause momentarily before resuming at lower volumes. The hostess leads the group to a table near Daniels, too near to be coincidental given the half-empty dining room. Brennan's voice carries deliberately as he regales his colleagues with stories of recent arrests. "Amazing how many people think they can come to Oak Ridge and not follow our rules," he says, glancing toward Daniels. Guess they need to learn the hard way. She continues typing, appearing oblivious while recording every word through her phone's hidden app. The officers order loudly, their presence dominating the space. Throughout the meal, Brennan repeatedly looks her way, ensuring she notices his attention. When Daniels signals for her check, the server approaches with an uncomfortable expression. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she says quietly, "but your card was declined." Daniels knows this is impossible. The FBI-issued card has ample funds and was used successfully that morning. "There must be a mistake," she says calmly. "Could you try again?" The server returns moments later, expression even more distressed. "Still declined. Do you have another card?" Daniels produces a second card, same result. The restaurant has grown quieter, nearby diners noticing her predicament. Brennan approaches, badge visible on his belt despite being technically off-duty. "Problem here?" His tone suggests authority rather than assistance. The server looks to him immediately, a gesture suggesting previous communication. "Her cards aren't working." "That's unfortunate," Brennan says with exaggerated concern. "We take financial crimes very seriously in Oak Ridge. A lot of scams these days, people using fake cards, false identities." His implication hangs in the air between them. All eyes now focus on their interaction. Daniels, maintaining her cover, produces cash from her wallet, counting out exact change plus a generous tip. "Good thing you had that," Brennan says, watching her closely. "Hate to see someone detained over lunch. Bad for digestion." His colleagues chuckle on cue. Daniels gathers her belongings, maintaining composure as she exits. Through the window, she observes Brennan speaking into his radio, a gesture too deliberate to miss. 5 minutes later, as she drives toward her apartment, a different police cruiser pulls behind her. The lights flash once, briefly, before the vehicle turns down a side street. A warning, a reminder of omnipresent surveillance. That evening, her secure phone rings with an unexpected update from the FBI technical team. "Someone attempted to access your cover identity's bank accounts multiple times today," the analyst reports. "Sophisticated enough to trigger security protocols, but not enough to bypass them." "Can you trace the attempts?" Daniels asks, already suspecting the answer. "Already did. IP address originates from within the Oak Ridge Police Department's administrative network." Daniels immediately contacts Morgan. "He's involving others now. The department's resources are being misused for personal harassment." Morgan's response is measured but satisfied. "That's exactly what we need. Escalation to misuse of official position and resources. Keep gathering evidence, we're almost there." Officer Brennan has just crossed from harassment into potential criminal activity, exactly as the FBI had hoped. 2 days later, Daniels returns home from a morning run to discover subtle irregularities in her apartment. The stack of marketing magazines on her coffee table sits at a slightly different angle. The kitchen drawer containing utensils isn't fully closed. Her laptop, deliberately left at a precise 45-degree angle to the desk edge, now sits perfectly parallel. Someone has been here. She pretends not to notice, maintaining her routine while activating additional hidden cameras throughout the apartment. Nothing appears stolen. This wasn't a robbery. This was a message. You are not safe, not even in your home. That night, she documents a patrol car parked across the street for 3 hours and 14 minutes. The following morning, she finds a parking ticket on her car windshield despite being legally parked in her own designated driveway space. Officer Brennan's signature adorns the bottom of the citation, alongside a handwritten note. Vehicle positioning creates potential traffic hazard. The grocery store proves equally unwelcoming during her next visit. The manager who had spoken with Brennan now watches her movements openly, following at a distance as she selects items. "Is there a problem?" Daniels finally asks, her tone suggesting confusion rather than confrontation. The manager hesitates, conflict evident in his expression. "No problem," he responds, then adds in a lower voice, "Just doing what I was asked." "By whom?" Daniels presses gently. After another moment's hesitation, Officer Brennan mentioned you might be involved in something illegal, said we should keep an eye out, report any suspicious behavior. Regret crosses the manager's face. Look, I'm just trying to run a business here. Don't want any trouble with the police. Daniels nods understandingly. Of course. Thank you for telling me. She purchases only essential items and leaves quickly, recording the conversation immediately in her vehicle. This statement from the manager provides critical evidence. Brennan is now attempting to turn the community against her without cause, leveraging his position to create a hostile environment. That afternoon, she makes a calculated decision to drive past the police station. The timing is deliberate. Shift change, when officers are coming and going. Brennan exits the building just as her sedan passes, his reaction immediate and visceral. He freezes momentarily, then changes direction, heading for his cruiser with determined strides. Daniels continues driving at precisely the speed limit, watching in her mirror as Brennan's vehicle pulls into traffic behind her. She allows herself to appear nervous now, checking her mirror frequently, making a slightly erratic turn onto a side street, bait for the trap she's been carefully constructing. Brennan follows, maintaining distance for 3 blocks before activating his lights. Daniels pulls over perfectly, positioning her vehicle for optimal camera angles from both her hidden equipment and the cruiser's dashboard camera. As Brennan approaches, his hand rests on his weapon, a deliberate intimidation tactic. His expression contains something new: satisfaction, anticipation, the look of a predator who believes his prey is cornered. License and registration. His voice carries a note of triumph. And step out of the vehicle. The moment Daniels has been waiting for has arrived, but it's also the most dangerous confrontation yet. Daniels complies methodically, retrieving her documents before stepping from the vehicle. Her movements remain deliberate, non-threatening, yet precisely calculated to maintain optimal positioning for her recording devices. Brennan stands with feet planted wide, authority radiating from his posture. The deserted side street offers no witnesses beyond the invisible eyes of technology. Hands where I can see them, he barks unnecessarily as her hands are already visible, holding the requested documents. You know, I've been watching you, driving all over town, meeting with strangers, asking questions. Is that a crime, Officer Brennan? Her voice remains steady, revealing nothing. His eyes narrow at her use of his name without him providing it. You seem to know a lot about me. I make it my business to know who's following me for no reason. The statement provokes him visibly, jaw tightening, fingers flexing near his weapon. Turn around, hands against the vehicle. On what grounds? She asks, still perfectly calm. Suspicious behavior, possible outstanding warrants. There are no warrants, Officer Brennan. We'll see about that, he responds, reaching for his handcuffs. The metal catches sunlight as he steps forward. Daniels makes her calculated decision, the moment balanced perfectly between gathering sufficient evidence and ensuring her own safety. Before you continue, I should inform you that this traffic stop is being recorded by multiple devices, as have been all of our previous encounters. Brennan freezes, handcuffs suspended in midair. What did you say? The question emerges as barely more than a whisper. Daniel straightens, her demeanor transforming subtly. The vulnerable facade falls away, revealing the steel beneath. Her voice changes, dropping the submissive tone, emerging stronger, authoritative. I'm Special Agent Tessa Daniels, Federal Bureau of Investigation, currently leading an investigation into civil rights violations within the Oak Ridge Police Department, with you as the primary subject. Brennan's face drains of color, his eyes darting to his cruiser, then back to her, searching for deception. She reaches slowly into her jacket, movements deliberate, producing her FBI credentials with the distinctive gold shield catching sunlight. This vehicle is federal property. The traffic stops you've conducted, the intimidation tactics, the misuse of department resources to harass me, all documented and witnessed by federal agents. Brennan takes an involuntary step backward, his hand falling away from his weapon. You can't. His stuttering ceases as an unmarked black SUV pulls up behind his cruiser. Deputy Director Morgan emerges, accompanied by 2 agents in FBI windbreakers. "Your body camera is on, correct?" Daniels asks, her tone now purely professional. "Department policy requires it for all stops. That footage will be subpoenaed, along with the records of every minority driver you've stopped in the past 5 years." Brennan's eyes dart between Daniels and the approaching agents, reality crashing down around him. "You've been this whole time?" "Yes," she confirms simply. "Every false citation, every threat, every time you followed me without cause, it's all evidence." Morgan reaches them, his expression severe. "Officer Brennan, we have a warrant to seize records from your department. Agents are executing it as we speak." Brennan's shock transforms to anger, his face flushing. "This is some kind of setup." "No," Daniels interrupts, her voice level but carrying unmistakable authority. "This is the consequence of systematic abuse of power. You targeted me because of my race, just as you've targeted others. The difference is, I was sent here specifically to document that behavior." She gestures to the surrounding buildings. "The grocery store manager's statement about your instructions to monitor me? Recorded. The unauthorized access attempts to my bank accounts from the police department computers? Traced and documented. The illegal entry into my residence? Captured on hidden cameras. Your false citations and harassment? All preserved as evidence." Brennan's posture collapses slightly, the full implications becoming clear. "You can't prove—" "We already have," Morgan interjects. "Agent Daniels is just one part of a broader investigation. Multiple witnesses have come forward, officers within your own department have provided statements, and your digital footprint alone is enough for federal charges." One of the FBI agents approaches Brennan. "Your department has been notified of our operation. Your chief is expecting you back at the station immediately." Brennan's gaze returns to Daniels, a mixture of hatred and disbelief evident in his expression. "You played me." "No, Officer Brennan," she responds evenly. "You played yourself. I simply provided the opportunity for your prejudice to become visible." She turns to Morgan. "Deputy Director, I believe we have what we need." Officer Brennan thought he was untouchable, but he just became the centerpiece of a federal civil rights investigation. The Oak Ridge Police Department transforms into a hive of controlled chaos as FBI agents move methodically through the building. Computer terminals are secured, file cabinets sealed, officers interviewed in separate rooms. Yellow evidence tape creates boundaries between ordinary police work and federal investigation. Chief Wilson paces his office, phone pressed to his ear, face flushed with mounting agitation. "Mayor, I'm telling you, they just walked in with warrants. Yes, federal. No, I wasn't given advance." He glances up as Deputy Director Morgan enters, followed by Daniels. "I'll call you back." "Chief Wilson," Morgan extends his hand professionally despite the tension. "I understand this is unexpected. We have warrants to secure evidence relevant to our investigation." Wilson ignores the offered hand. "You could have extended professional courtesy. This ambush makes my entire department look guilty." "With respect, Chief," Daniels interjects, "when we investigate patterns of civil rights violations, advance notice tends to result in missing records." Wilson's eyes narrow as he studies her. "You're the undercover agent? The one Brennan?" "Special Agent Tessa Daniels," she confirms. "I've been documenting Officer Brennan's systematic targeting of minority citizens for the past 2 months." Morgan places a folder on Wilson's desk. "This investigation began long before Agent Daniels arrived. Complaints against Officer Brennan and several others in your department show a clear pattern of discriminatory enforcement." Wilson bristles. "Officer Brennan's actions don't represent this department." "The evidence suggests otherwise," Daniels counters, opening the folder. "Brennan issued citations to minority drivers at 6 times the rate of white drivers. 3 other officers show similar patterns. All complaints were dismissed without proper investigation. That suggests a systemic issue, not an individual one." Charts and graphs spread across Wilson's desk. Traffic stop demographics, citation rates, complaint dismissals, painting a statistical picture impossible to dismiss. This has been happening under your watch for years, Morgan continues. The department has received 27 formal complaints from minority drivers in the past 36 months. All were dismissed. Wilson slumps slightly. Those complaints didn't meet our standard for being taken seriously, Daniels interrupts. I experienced that standard firsthand, Chief. I was pulled over without cause, issued false citations, followed, harassed, and intimidated, all while your officer used department resources to attempt to access my financial records and illegally enter my residence. In a separate interview room, Brennan sits across from two FBI agents, his union representative and department-appointed attorney flanking him. This is a misunderstanding, Brennan insists, hands flat on the table. I was conducting legitimate police work. Suspicious behavior warrants investigation. The senior FBI agent slides forward a tablet displaying video footage of Brennan dropping Daniels' documents in a puddle. Is this standard procedure for a routine traffic stop? Brennan shifts uncomfortably. It was raining. Accidents happen. The next video shows him blocking her car at the grocery store. Was this also police work? While off duty? I was just being thorough, Brennan attempts. Crime prevention requires proactive policing. And the unauthorized database searches? The intimidation of local business owners? The agent's tone remains clinical, each question tightening the noose. The parking citation issued to a legally parked vehicle? Brennan looks to his attorney, who signals for a pause. Their whispered conference ends with visible resignation from Brennan. Throughout the building, similar scenes unfold. Officer Rivera, the uncomfortable rookie, speaks quietly to investigators. It wasn't just Brennan. There was an understanding about certain neighborhoods, certain drivers. Those who complained were labeled troublemakers. Other officers, seeing the direction of the investigation, begin cooperating. Files emerge from personal lockers, text messages are surrendered. Verbal policies never officially documented suddenly become visible. The mayor arrives, summoning Chief Wilson and the FBI leadership to the conference room. Her expression suggests political calculation rather than moral outrage. The optics of this are devastating, she begins without preamble. How do we contain the damage? With respect, Mayor, Daniels responds, containment is what created this situation. The damage has been ongoing for years, to your citizens, to community trust, to the concept of equal protection under law. The town attorney enters, carrying a thick folder. We've done a preliminary assessment of potential liability. It's substantial. Civil suits, federal oversight, consent decrees. This could cost Oak Ridge millions. The room falls silent as the magnitude settles over them. Or, Daniel suggests into the silence, you could lead the reform. All eyes turn to her. Implement real accountability. Create transparent complaint procedures. Establish community oversight with actual authority. Make Oak Ridge an example of how to address systemic problems proactively rather than being forced by litigation. Morgan nods. The Department of Justice typically prefers voluntary reform to adversarial proceedings. It produces more sustainable results. The mayor studies Daniels with newfound respect. How would this work? A consent decree would establish specific metrics, deadlines, and oversight mechanisms, Morgan explains. You'd maintain local control while implementing federally mandated changes. The alternative, Daniels adds, is years of expensive litigation, negative publicity, and eventually being forced to make these same changes anyway. As discussions continue into the evening, the investigation widens. 12 former complainants are located and interviewed by the FBI team. Their stories mirror Daniels' experience with disturbing precision. An elderly black man who was pulled over 11 times in 6 months without citation. A Hispanic college student forced to perform field sobriety tests despite being the designated driver. A Middle Eastern business owner subjected to random store inspections weekly. The local newspaper runs the story the following morning. FBI investigation reveals years of alleged civil rights violations by Oak Ridge police. Citizens gather outside the police station, some holding signs supporting officers, others demanding accountability. The division reveals a town forced to confront uncomfortable truths long buried beneath surface civility. Inside the station, Chief Wilson views the gathering crowd through closed blinds. "How do we come back from this?" Daniel stands beside him. "By building something better. Equal protection isn't just a legal requirement. It's what makes a community worth protecting." As the investigation widens, the question becomes not whether there will be consequences, but how far-reaching they'll be. 3 weeks later, the Oak Ridge Municipal Building's largest conference room transforms into a makeshift hearing chamber. American and state flags stand at attention behind a long table where police commission members sit in somber formation. The room fills beyond capacity. Department officials in dress uniforms, town representatives in conservative suits, FBI agents maintaining watchful neutrality, community members whose complaints now form the backbone of federal findings. Tension thickens the air as Officer Mark Brennan enters, flanked by his union representative and attorney. His uniform appears freshly pressed, medals and commendations deliberately prominent on his chest. He walks with forced confidence, though his eyes betray a constant calculation, assessing allies, measuring threats, searching for escape routes where none exist. Daniels sits beside Morgan in the second row, her FBI credentials visible but not ostentatious. Her expression reveals nothing as Brennan's gaze briefly meets hers before skittering away. The commission chairwoman calls the hearing to order. "This disciplinary proceeding will determine whether Officer Mark Brennan's actions constitute violations of department policy, civil rights protections, and the public trust essential to law enforcement." What follows is methodical deconstruction of a career built on unchecked authority. Video evidence plays on wall-mounted screens, traffic stops showing clear bias, Brennan's escalating harassment of Daniels captured from multiple angles. Audio recordings reveal threatening comments made during stops, radio communications coordinating surveillance without justification. Documentation of false citations projects in stark black and white, dates, times, fabricated violations all cataloged with devastating precision. Evidence of unauthorized use of department resources emerges through digital forensics, database searches without warrants, improper access to personal information, attempts to infiltrate financial records. Officer Rivera testifies with quiet resolve. "There was an unwritten policy about which neighborhoods to patrol more heavily, which drivers warranted extra attention. Those who questioned it were excluded from advancement opportunities." 12 community members provide statements describing similar experiences, patterns of intimidation so consistent they could only result from deliberate practice rather than coincidence. Brennan's attorney attempts damage control, framing incidents as misunderstandings or overzealous policing motivated by public safety concerns. Each explanation withers under the weight of evidence suggesting not isolated mistakes, but systematic abuse. The union representative argues procedural points, challenges evidence collection methods, suggests political motivation behind the investigation. His technical objections gain little traction against the overwhelming substance of the case. When finally given opportunity to speak, Brennan reveals his true character. Initial contrition dissolves quickly into defensive justification. "I was doing my job," he insists, voice rising, "keeping undesirables from thinking they could just move in and take over. Someone had to maintain standards." The room falls silent at this naked admission of bias. Several commission members exchange glances. The chairwoman leans forward. "Officer Brennan, are you stating that you deliberately targeted certain individuals based on their race or ethnicity?" His attorney places a warning hand on his arm, but Brennan shrugs it off, frustration overriding strategy. "Look around you," he continues. "This town was safe, orderly. Then people started moving in who don't share our values, don't respect our ways. Someone had to send a message." His attorney closes his eyes in defeat. Chief Wilson, now fighting for his own career, rises from his seat. His expression suggests a man witnessing the collapse of carefully constructed illusions. The commission will recess to deliberate, the chairwoman announces. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. The recess stretches to 45 minutes before the commission members return, expressions grave. The chairwoman delivers their decision without preamble. Based on overwhelming evidence and Officer Brennan's own statements, this commission finds that he has violated multiple department policies, civil rights protections, and his oath of office. Effective immediately, his employment with the Oak Ridge Police Department is terminated. Chief Wilson formally requests Brennan's badge and weapon. The Oak Ridge Police Department cannot and will not tolerate discriminatory practices that violate the constitutional rights of our citizens. As Brennan surrenders his badge, his fingers linger on the metal as though unwilling to relinquish what it represents. His eyes find Daniels among the observers, hatred crystallizing in his gaze. Her expression offers nothing in return, no triumph, no satisfaction, only the calm certainty of justice served. Outside, reporters thrust microphones toward departing participants. Tomorrow's headline already taking shape. Officer fired, federal charges pending in police discrimination case. One officer's downfall is complete, but the systemic changes are just beginning. 6 months later, spring sunshine illuminates the newly installed community bulletin board outside the Oak Ridge Police Department. Posted prominently is the quarterly report from the Civilian Review Board. Traffic stop demographics, complaint resolutions, disciplinary actions, all displayed with transparent clarity. Citizens pause to review the data, some nodding with cautious approval, others photographing statistics to share on community forums. Inside, the department operates under transformed protocols. Body cameras record every interaction, uploading automatically to servers beyond departmental control. Officers receive ongoing training on bias recognition and constitutional policing, led by civil rights attorneys and community representatives rather than traditional police instructors. Chief Wilson's office stands empty, his early retirement announced 3 months into the federal investigation. His replacement, Chief Carmen Rodriguez, previously headed internal affairs in a larger metropolitan department, her reputation built on ethical accountability rather than arrest statistics. The physical changes mirror deeper structural transformations. 3 additional officers were terminated following expanded investigations into past conduct. 7 others resigned rather than face enhanced scrutiny. New hiring protocols prioritize community connection over traditional law enforcement backgrounds. Most significant is the Civilian Review Board established with actual authority, not merely advisory capacity, but genuine oversight with subpoena power and disciplinary influence. Its members represent Oak Ridge's full demographic spectrum. Their monthly meetings open to public attendance and live-streamed for transparency. Today, Daniels stands before 30 police academy recruits in the department's renovated training room. No longer undercover, she wears her FBI credentials openly as she delivers a presentation that has become standard curriculum. Law enforcement requires power, she explains, moving between slides documenting Oak Ridge's transformation. But power without accountability inevitably leads to abuse. Your badge is not a shield from consequences. It's a symbol of the higher standard to which you must hold yourselves. The recruits take notes with focused attention. Among the department's instructors sits newly promoted Lieutenant Rivera, whose testimony proved pivotal in the broader investigation. He now coordinates training programs alongside community leaders, translating federal requirements into practical daily protocols. The reforms implemented here didn't happen voluntarily, Daniels continues. They came after decades of ignored complaints, dismissed evidence, and systemic failure. Your challenge is to maintain these standards when public attention inevitably shifts elsewhere. Beyond Oak Ridge, the investigation's impact spreads outward like ripples from a dropped stone. Similar investigations launch in neighboring jurisdictions where complaint patterns mirror those uncovered. A state-level police standards commission adopts several of the Oak Ridge reforms as requirements for all departments, creating accountability systems with standardized metrics and reporting mechanisms. Former complainants receive formal apologies from the town council and settlement offers that acknowledge, though cannot fully compensate for, years of harassment and discrimination. More significantly, they gain positions on oversight committees, their experiences transformed from ignored grievances to guiding expertise. After the training session, one former victim approaches Daniels in the hallway. "For years, I thought no one would ever believe us," she says, emotion making her voice unsteady. "You changed that forever." Daniels shakes her head. "Your persistence changed it. Those complaints you filed, even when they were dismissed, created the pattern we needed to launch the investigation. You never stopped demanding justice, even when the system ignored you." The woman straightens slightly. "My son just applied to the academy. He wants to be part of the new department, not afraid of the old one." The reforms in Oak Ridge become a blueprint, but will they last beyond the initial spotlight? 1 year later, autumn leaves paint Oak Ridge in vibrant hues as Daniels returns for a community forum on police-community relations. The town square has been transformed with a temporary stage and rows of chairs, many already filled despite the event not starting for another hour. Children play nearby on new playground equipment, the Community Unity Park plaque acknowledging it was funded through savings from reduced police misconduct litigation. Chief Rodriguez greets Daniels warmly, the two women embracing briefly before walking toward the venue. "Our complaint numbers are down 70%, Rodriguez reports, professional pride evident in her voice. "Traffic stop disparities have virtually disappeared. Your work here changed everything." "The community did the changing," Daniels responds, noting the diverse crowd gathering for the forum. "I just created the opportunity." They pass the police station where large windows have replaced solid walls in the public-facing offices, a literal transparency mirroring the department's philosophical shift. Inside, civilian administrative staff work alongside officers, the intentional integration breaking down barriers that once separated police from the community they serve. At the forum, Daniels takes a seat in the audience rather than on stage. This isn't her moment. It belongs to the citizens of Oak Ridge who transformed crisis into opportunity. Community members and officers engage in honest dialogue about ongoing challenges and successes, their interactions marked by respectful disagreement rather than defensive positioning. Lieutenant Rivera, now leading the department's Community Engagement Division, addresses questions about recruitment practices. "We're building a department that reflects our community's diversity," he explains, "and we're learning that true public safety comes from community trust, not fear. Every officer now understands that bias, conscious or unconscious, has no place in policing." A woman rises from the audience, the mother of a young man who had filed 3 complaints against Brennan years earlier. "My son still gets nervous when he sees a patrol car in his mirror," she admits. How do we heal that kind of trauma? The question hangs in the air, heavy with history. Chief Rodriguez doesn't offer platitudes or defensive responses. "By acknowledging it happened," she answers finally, "by making space for that pain in our conversations, and by demonstrating, consistently and transparently, that we're building something different." After the forum, Daniels visits the coffee shop where she first encountered Brennan during her undercover assignment. The same server recognizes her, now knowing her true identity. "Never imagined an FBI agent was sitting right here all those months," she says, placing a cup of black coffee before Daniels. "Changed how I see things. Makes you wonder who else might be watching when people abuse their power." Daniels smiles. That's exactly the point. Accountability shouldn't depend on whether an FBI agent happens to be your target. It should be built into the system. As she prepares to leave town, Daniels drives through neighborhoods once subject to disproportionate policing. Children play freely in front yards, elderly residents chat on porches, everyday life unfolding without the shadow of targeted surveillance. The changes are both subtle and profound, less about dramatic policy announcements than the quiet absence of fear. She passes the police station one last time. The new department motto is visible on the building: "To protect, serve, and respect equally." The lessons of Oak Ridge travel with her as she returns to Quantico, where the case study now forms part of FBI civil rights training. The reforms continue without her presence, sustained by a community that discovered its own power to demand accountability. If you enjoyed this story of justice and courage against corruption, don't forget to subscribe to PAP Stories for more powerful narratives that expose truth and celebrate those who fight against injustice. Hit that like button if you believe in standing up for what's right, and share this video with someone who needs inspiration today. Turn on notifications to never miss our weekly uploads of stories that matter. Join our community of truth seekers, because sometimes the most important stories are the ones that powerful people don't want told. PAP Stories. Amplifying the voices that need to be heard.